Good morning, Rumble, YouTube, and Twitter. Welcome back to the Ryan Matta Show. Today is Monday, May 13th. We have a great interview today. We're going to be joined by Desiree Dickerson. I won't overtalk it, but I want you guys to swing over and follow a couple links down below. She's working with Thndr Games, and as well as I also have her Twitter and her Substack linked down below in the description. So if you could swing over there and please give her a follow. Desiree, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Well, I like to let everybody get to know the guests pretty well. So I want to start from the beginning with where'd you grow up at?
I actually grew up in Ohio, so right in between Cleveland and Columbus. If you have seen Shawshank Redemption, that prison is actually in my hometown. That's like the claim to fame. So
No way. Was that movie filmed there then, obviously?
yeah, and now it's like a historic site, and they host like a really incredible metal festival there if you're into metal music. Um, every summer. So yeah, Ohio.
Wow, that's really cool. So tell me a little bit about what it was like growing up in Ohio. What were your parents like?
It was awesome. I mean, I this past year I haven't gotten back to Ohio a lot, but I love it so much. I grew up in a really blue collar family. And I guess we're just like quintessential Ohio family. Lots of corn. Just yeah, I mean, I grew up, I think, my journey to Bitcoin was kind of instilled a bit with my parents. My parents are very freedom forward, and especially my dad. And like kind of, I don't know, without, I didn't grow up in like a incredibly like politicized family, but like a family that like really grew up believing in different sets of ideals with like a healthy distrust for the government. Um, you know, really, like I said, freedom forward. And so I think that kind of led to me just like always wanting to like push the boundaries a bit and test the waters. And I think that's kind of what eventually led to me coming to Bitcoin, was a little bit in some of my upbringing. But yeah, very Midwestern upbringing, like lots of bologna sandwiches, lots of fishing, all that type of stuff. So yeah, I get back very often. So.
Was your dad big into fishing? Is that something you used to do with your father?
Yeah, my dad was super, I mean, he's still super into fishing. We still go fishing a lot together. He's also the person who got me into gaming. We grew up gaming together. Like, I remember the first thing we played together was Duck Hunt when he got his NES.
Yeah.
So
Duck Hunt was off
yeah,
the hook back in the day.
we still play some games together, but he's so good now. Like him and his girlfriend are so good at video games. Like, and they really like first person shooter games, which I'm not as into, but like he's constantly still gaming. But he's like far surpassed me. So yeah, I guess, yeah, it's crazy when you look back, like how much of yourself is a reflection of your parents and how they raised you. Who would have thought, right?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I'm from Michigan, so I understand the
Oh,
lakes and
okay.
fishing, so I'm not too far from where you guys were. So that's why I was kind of curious.
Yeah, we definitely grew up a lot of like fishing at Lake Erie, and yeah, just like different little ponds and stuff near Mansfield growing up. So
So, with your parents being freedom maximalists, were they encouraging you to go to college when you were younger?
they never were like go to college. I'm actually the first person in my family to go to college, but they never really pushed it at all. They've always just been like, hey, just be a good person, like don't go to jail, and
Hmm.
don't harm other people. So it was just like, hey, whatever kind of like float your boat. If you want to go to college, they obviously were very supportive when obviously me and an entire generation of people were told that going to college was the only way to find
Hmm.
success. So they were very supportive and did as much as they could. But like, yeah, they were not like, you have to follow. They've never been like, you have to follow any set path, or do any set thing. Like I was actually, I learned to oil paint before I could even read. So the plan was for me to go to art school, and become an artist, but that didn't happen. And yeah, I went into the sciences, and yeah, maybe that it's always a blessing and a curse because my parents love me no matter what I do, but there's really no guidance. It's like the world is your oyster and will love you no matter what you do. So
Maybe that is the right outlook as a being as a parent, right? It seems like you're doing a really good job.
I mean, it's definitely I I'm very thankful for my upbringing. My parents are really wonderful people. I think they did one hell of a job, and now as an adult, I'm like, oh man, how do parents? You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
it's there. There's a thing I saw on the internet recently is that you have to remember, like, your mom is just a girl. So if you ever get frustrated, your mom, it's like she's doing this all for the first time. So like, if she asks the wrong questions or upsets you, your mom's just a girl, like just like you. So I don't know. I thought that was cute given Mother's Day was yesterday. So,
That's a very good outlook, and I don't think I've ever thought about it like that. That's really interesting. So,
right.
so were you did you go to college right out of high school? What were your grades like in high school, and how did you end up putting your foot in the college door, I guess?
Well, my grades were the best. I've like always, I don't know if most people would call me type A, because I'm just like type A with everything you have to do. And then after that, I just become like mayhem outside of that. So like I always had straight A's. I was like the president of every club, played sports, did the whole thing. My kind of view was it was like, okay, I grew up in literally in the middle of a cornfield, and it's kind of like, how am I going to get out of Mansfield, Ohio, and experience the world? Like, when you're so young like that, you're like, there's so much world outside. And so I was like, okay, the only way to do this is if I get really good grades. Oh shoot.
No, that's me. Can you see me?
Oh,
I
it's
just
still
put you.
there. No, I
Yeah,
can't see
sorry.
you
I'm
anymore.
just I'm just changing the scene, so that's what the guest is watching. I put you on full screen.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got scared for a second.
No,
But
you're
yeah,
good.
so it's like I've got to get good grades. So I was like anal retentive. And then yeah, I went to school in Chicago and got out of Ohio and went to the south side of Chicago, which was a huge culture shock, really in the best way possible. And yeah, I studied biology at University of Chicago for undergrad. Um, but like taking a gap year back then wasn't a thing. I wish I would have. And then I went to grad school straight after undergrad, in DC, which is where I'm at now. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I did.
Oh, shit. You went from a cornfield to Chicago to DC.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so I get, and I think when it was in my college admissions, like they're at U Chicago, they're like super involved. Like I like had an in-person interview in Ohio and met with them, and it's just like a really incredible it's just a really incredible institution, honestly. And the one thing that the person said to me was like, you can find culture in a cornfield, which always stuck with me because I was like, bro, like I need to get out of Ohio.
Hmm.
And it's incredible now because like having, had this experience, and like, I feel like I travel more than I am here at home. And it really was like kind of stuck with me because it's like there is actually a really beautiful culture in the middle of those cornfields, in the middle of America, and all these like forgotten states. So I always thought that was like really incredible because now I just like yearn to get back to my hometown and be there. I just feel like so at peace when I'm there. So it's interesting.
It's weird how you want to leave something or you want something so bad, and then when you finally get it, you look back and you really realize you had everything that you ever wanted. It was right there in front of you.
Yeah, yeah. It's a tale as old as time, and like even though we've all, heard that and been told that our entire lives, like it's the only way to really learn it is to physically experience it. So, but would you really ever think that if you didn't see the other side? Is always the question. But yeah, I love Ohio. So,
What was it like going from Chicago to Washington? Tell me a little bit about starting undergrad school. What was that like?
um, yeah, Chicago was great. Like, I mean, it's also Midwestern, so a lot of the same values, just the way that people treat you. So I really loved Chicago. I really need to get back there more. I could definitely potentially end up in Chicago. Then yeah, going to DC was definitely different. I still now I've been here since 2011, so I've been here for like 13 years. I still don't feel like this is my home. I do really like it because it is like very quaint, like very easily accessible. It's like a small town. If a city were a small town, that's DC. However, it's like I said, it's like very political city, um, which is fine in a sense. But the thing that is the worst is that it's very transient. So every 4 years, if administration changes, people move. So it's like very hard to kind of find people who really like stay in the city and like for longer than 4 years. So you can't really find a community of people. It's like hard to find like your tribe here, which sucks. But we're here, and there's beautiful things about the city. But yeah, it was a really interesting transition. But it's also like a really great gateway. Like my team is actually based in Europe, so it's very easy for me to like pop over to Europe. Like I do a lot of stuff in New York, so I can pop up. I was in New York all last week, and it's easy to fly home. So I've kind of just always stayed in DC.
So why is DC your home now? What is it about DC that keeps you in DC and prevents you from?
My house and the low interest rates on this house. We bought the house in the middle of the pandemic, and I
0% interest
renovated
rates
it.
or low?
Basically,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so yeah, and I spent a lot of time in like mental energy renovating. So we have like a row home in DC, like late Victorian. And it's gorgeous and I love it. And I've put so much blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, if this house were anywhere else, I'd stay here forever. But DC is like quickly taking a turn for the worse in terms of crime. So won't be here forever. But this house I love, and I made like a really close friend, my interior architect, while designing it. It's just like so much of my heart is in this house specifically, but it's also great. Like there is like the food in DC is amazing. It's like very multicultural, which I do very much love and enjoy, that aspect of DC. And the music scene's really good as well. There's a lot of good music that comes from here, but otherwise there's no real reason to stay.
How do you feel with your safety? I mean, everything that I'm watching and reporting on daily is like DC is getting really bad. So are you in like a portion of DC around like the elite where it's very nice, or is this everywhere in DC is bad?
I think that that's like the difference with DC is that like when I lived in Chicago, or like when and I think it's crime is just rampant in most major cities, but like the difference that I've seen in Chicago when I've been in New York, and I was there for like 2 months straight, and not that I like really understand New York, but like the crime seems to like happen in like really concentrated pockets, which was like, I lived in Hyde Park. And at the time when I was in school, it was incredibly dangerous, but like on campus, it was safe. And there were just like different pockets. But here, crime is like really like everywhere in the city. So like our street and like our area is like incredibly safe. My husband's lived here for 25 years, is like very active and vocal in the community, but like it's just hard to stay away from crime from wherever you are, and it's mostly because of like policies that have been made over the past 5 years. So I would say, yeah, it's really bad. I don't typically go out after dark ever. So like I have to like set time aside during my day to go work out or go on a run, because it's just too dangerous. Like I've heard people get stabbed in the stomach
Mhm.
screaming like a block and a half from my house. And like I'm literally telling you, I live on one of the most beautiful streets in the city. So it doesn't really matter where you live or what your socioeconomic status is. Like everyone here, I feel like, is exposed to crime, which I think is like very different than like most major cities. Like Georgetown, like you can't go to a store in Georgetown, and most stores you can't just open the door. You have to be like ring a bell and be let in, just because of theft and the crime that happens in the city. So it's really sad. I mean, like our CVS is closing down. Like every CVS, like if you want to buy like a lipstick, you have to go see an associate to get the lipstick out for you. So it's like not just like the fact that, I mean, I went to Giant the other day and I saw like 2 adolescents with guns standing in front of Giant 2 blocks from my house. So it's not even just like that, like the fear of like the safety aspect. It's like the crime is impacting like business and like impacting like your ability to just like live life in a city. So it's like very quickly not becoming worth living in the city, because it's like, yeah, I can walk everywhere I need to be, but like if I might die or if like I really can't get to anything, like our CVS is closing because of like crime and theft, that it's like, well, I might as well just live in Ohio and drive 20 minutes to get to CVS, right? So yeah, DC's like I'm not in love with it, and yeah, it's really not very safe place to be.
It's pretty sad to see such a probably one of the greatest nations of all time just decaying. It's like a festering rot within itself that it's gotten so bad that it has to I don't know what actually can fix it or how it gets better from here. I assume that with your father being your father, you carry at all times, right? You have your CPL, you don't leave home without being strapped.
No, I do not.
Okay.
I've actually been in a shooting, and so I have made this decision very informed. So I don't carry. I'm No, I don't,
Why?
because I don't. I mean, because I've been around guns my entire life. I am like very Second Amendment. I very much support people carrying. I have no qualms with that, but for me personally, it's like a decision that I've made because I don't feel safe having a firearm. And yeah, I've made a like hard decision that that's not for me. But again, like I support other people in that.
Wow, that's interesting.
I also
So
don't know
let
if you can't. I don't think you can open carry in DC. I don't think in DC.
Yeah, I agree, but I think we're getting past the time where we let a government decide. That's in letting in 50 million illegal immigrants from several prisons all around the globe that are getting dumped off and delivered to your backyard. I think at some point you have to say, yeah, I'm no longer going to listen or abide by these tyrants, and I'm going to protect my family by whatever means necessary.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like what protecting someone's family means to them, like the way in which they think that they should do that is up to them.
Hmm.
Like for me personally, like as I have said, like I've almost been killed, and so like I know what it's like and how I react to that scenario. So it's like a gun would not do me any good because I know exactly how I react if I'm going to almost be shot. So that's just like my personal decision. Again, like also and I, as someone who like tends to like push the buttons, like I tend to follow the rules to a certain extent. Like I agree, like, but then again, it's like I don't feel safe if someone's like walking around carrying a gun without a permit. I think that's awful. And I mean, it's generally criminals, but yeah, I think it's like a really touchy subject, right? I don't- should we just like go against what the rules are, or should we try and change the rules, which is like harder to do in some places other than others. If I were really passionate about it, I'd just leave.
Hmm.
Like for open carry, right? I would just leave. Like my dad is like he is super passionate about that, so he lives in Ohio, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I think if I was really passionate about it, I would really like lobby for it,
Hmm.
and show up to local elections and try and make change. But again, like for me, it's a decision that like a personal decision, and like I think that is what like whether you decide to carry is a very personal
Yeah,
decision.
absolutely. You're 100% right. Yeah. And you have to live with the outcome of that decision, no matter good or bad, what comes of it. So
Yeah,
that's a
no, I
self-choice. I can't
100%
I can't
agree.
judge you for that. I mean, that's your own decision. Who would you say is the most influential person in your life, and how do you think they impacted you?
Just like someone I know personally.
Yeah, it could be a family member, a friend. Like growing up, it could be a childhood best
Mm.
friend. It could be a an actor, somebody that you looked up to, inspired to be like. If you had to pick one person, who would it be?
Oh man, that's hard. I mean, it's like hard to not say your parents because they're like, the most um I don't know. They're like, I feel like they're everybody's most influential, whether that be good or bad, right?
Hmm.
Um I would say like someone who I've been really influenced by, like, I would say later in life, is Patton. Like I've like done a lot of reading and like, I'm just like really inspired by his leadership style, which is like a little bit more chaotic and like renegade, and just like the strategy work that he did is really inspiring, and just like some of his also just like kind of insane but like very like public like views of um like the afterlife and like just like crazy shit. Like I just like have a lot of respect for someone who is like so, positively looked upon, but like also said like all of the crazy shit that came to his head. I'm like, I just have so much admiration. Like, just like also like the style, it's like he's like, nah, like you want me to wear this outfit? No, I want to wear like a cute outfit. Just kidding. So I don't know. I just like everything about him is just like I just love learning about him. I think that's why like later in life it's like I can just pick up more and more books and learn more and more. And then my husband and his, and actually my side of the family too, but have like tons of like military history. So it's like I also learn a lot from my husband and his dad, who was a general. So it's like I can kind of like connect with them and learn, just like learning the history of Patton. So it's like a little bit more of a random one.
Wow, that's really interesting. So, if you look back at your past failures or mistakes, what would you say led to your current success?
Is it current success? I feel like I don't know. I guess I don't really ever view anything as like a failure, because it's like I just think that things weren't meant to happen. And I don't think I view everything as like an experience. So it's like every success doesn't really feel like a success to celebrate. It's more of just like, okay, I've achieved this thing on my journey. And like maybe the next thing would be somebody else's failure, but for me it's an achievement. So it's like if everything falls apart, like for one example is like I really was like planning to go to medical school, and I went to grad school and studied biophysics. And I was like, okay, am I going to go to med school? I have no money. It's not like I grew up in money. So what am I going to do? Go like another $200,000 into debt, and then like literally pay off my loans when I'm like 50 or 60? Um, or should I just like go? I don't know. I was just like so tired of eating ramen all the time. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go into consulting. I'm gonna sell my soul. I like need to make some money. So I went to consulting, and like, I think that if like I viewed that as like normal society, that would have been a failure. That like something I dreamed of, I just gave up for money. Um, but like it doesn't feel like it, because I went into consulting. I worked with a lot of federal clients, got really disenchanted with the federal government and, kind of the status quo, which kind of, I'd already learned about Dogecoin when I was in grad school on Reddit. And like, then, that kind of dissatisfaction with, how our government works and how our money works kind of led me then to Bitcoin. And then that's how I got into Bitcoin. And then that's how I got here. So it's like, for me, it's like, that's somebody's failure, but to me, like, that's a success, right? Some people might see it as a failure, but I view it as just like another turn, another experience. So that would probably be like the biggest one. Like maybe I left like corporate America and like a nice fat salary, and like, not like all of this existential dread and like fear that like my company will go under at any time, or that like they're going to like view Lightning service or like LSP, Lightning service providers, as money transmitters. Like that all is very scary. But I view it all as a success because like I get to work on Bitcoin and I get to work on like really cool tech every day and something I'm passionate about. So all success.
I like the way you said that. Very well said. Walk me through the first time that you had said you were, it sounds like you were surfing Reddit and you stumbled across Dogecoin, and then that was your first dabbling with crypto. Walk me through that.
Yeah, I was on, the past couple of years I haven't been on Reddit as much since when I started with Thndr, but yeah, I used to be on Reddit all the time through college. I was really big on our relationship advice, giving people relationship advice, and just everywhere on Reddit. And then I don't know how I stumbled on Dogecoin. I really don't. But the people were so nice. It was so funny. I love like internet lore and internet just anything like internet history. Like I actually was doing a lot of TikToks on like internet lore at one point. And so I just loved it. It was like, we're gonna sponsor a bobsled team. We're like, it was like ridiculous. Like, right? This like little community based on this like cryptocurrency that's a Doge. Like it's hilarious. And granted, like I was in a very small program in grad school, and like most people were older. I had gone right from undergrad, so I had like no friends in this new city studying all the time. So I just spent a lot of time on there and was like, this is really cool. And like, I think it was just like the community aspect of it that got me interested. And like, it eventually led to me finding, I heard of Bitcoin before, but then I was like, oh, Bitcoin is like a legitimate Dogecoin. And then I started actually learning about Bitcoin. And then that got me to where I'm going. And the question that everybody asks is like, did you make a shit ton of money off of your Dogecoin? And the answer is no, I lost all of my paper wallets.
I've been there.
So no, I made zero money. It's not funny, but it's fine. It's funny because like I spent nothing on it, right? But if I found those paper wallets, everybody would be in trouble. I wouldn't tell anybody, but there would be signs. There will be signs if I find those paper wallets.
I remember making my first wallet and I was writing down those words thinking like, my buddy's like, you got to save these words. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to save them. I took a screenshot sort of my desktop and like never wrote them down. And looking back now, I have no idea where they're at. I can never find them. What did you do with yours, do you think?
I remember, they could still be somewhere. I have moved several times since then, but I know that I just like threw them with my like, keepsake stuff, right? So if I went through I've gone through that stuff. So I've gone through it and I didn't find it. So what happened probably was one of my moves, I went through it and was like, this is not worth anything. I'm just gonna throw it out. Yeah. So yeah. My bad.
You have tried to hunt for them. I've tried to hunt for mine before and I was unsuccessful.
The minute Elon got involved, I was like, this is now worth my time. Yeah. But I forgot last year I bought Pepe coin or whatever. And me, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, but like if anybody's got a scam or like some token pump and dump they're gonna run, just let me know. Because girl also gotta eat. I work at a startup. So I did buy Pepe and I just sold it like a couple weeks ago and I made a very good return on that.
No shit, because a girl's got to eat. I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, but a girl's got to eat. I like that one.
I mean, like, also, who cares? I mean, the other thing is like sometimes I just like to try these things out because it's so ridiculous. Like, for a while I was trying to buy rare sats for a while, but it's like I will try everything, right? I don't even care if like the Bitcoin community hates it. I'm just gonna try it because like how can you say something shit if you don't try it? Like I've tried like decentralized like sports betting on Solana, and every time I try, the network is down. So it's like, how can this even function? But I think that like makes it a better, like it gives us more power as Bitcoiners because it's like, how many investors come to me and say, why don't you do all of this on Solana? And I'm like, why don't you like literally tell me one of the like 5 to 10 times I've tried to use a product that runs on Solana and like it wasn't working, or like fees were too high. So it's like, I feel like it actually gives us more power in like what we're doing and like building on Bitcoin if we actually try the other tech. It's not just us like saying, oh, this is shit because it's not Bitcoin. It's us like actually experiencing it and like proving like, hey, this fundamentally does not work as like an end user product. So that's kind of why I mean, I'm not like dumping a ton of money. I should have dumped a ton of money into the Pepe coin, but I didn't. So
That's an interesting outlook. What is it about? You had said decentralized sports betting on Solana, but if the main chain is centralized, how can anything that's built on top of it be decentralized?
I is this a riddle? Because I have no idea.
No, I'm literally that's why I went big into this shitcoin and like went really down the rabbit hole to where I was like, I don't understand this, but people are telling me all A, B, and C. So I had a bigger channel, so all these companies wanted to come onto my channel to advertise their coin, and I was like, well, I don't want to promote your shit coin. I want you to send a dev my way and let me sit here with a developer and have them walk me through how the blockchain is built.
Yeah.
So went on a mission to interview any CEO, any dev that could. So for like a year, I spent the whole year under like just interviewing devs from different blockchains and L2s and all these different applications. And at the end of the day, not one could explain to me how their project was actually decentralized. It was always a team or a group, or it was like, we're going to give tokens to a DAO, and then the top 20 shareholders are going to control X amount of voting power, and it's going to be decentralized. And I'm just like, but a crooked judge in New York City or Washington, D.C. could indict the CEO of your project and collapse the entire operation, right? If there's always a single point of failure, then there's no such thing as decentralized, I guess. And that's kind of like the end point I got to.
It's insane. Like it's literally insanity. Like it's so complicated. None of it makes sense. I've also been like, listen, at the end of the day, like I'm gonna love Bitcoin and you know, be a Bitcoin maxi. However, I run a company, right? That like people work for me and they have families, right? And we have investors. Like I have a fiduciary duty to do what's best for this company. So, and I will maintain this for as long as I'm the CEO of this company, is that I will use whatever technology is best. So if someone comes here and says, here's like a better like chain to use, and it actually is, I will move. If it's better for my company, I will move it. However, I've said this for the past 2.5 years, and no one has like literally been able to prove it to a point where I'm ever going to move, where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, like this is like theoretically like better than Lightning. Okay, like if I cannot, like we've sent over 6 million payments to our users. We've over 2.5, 3 years, we've probably spent a little over $1,000 on fees, and like we're not even like doing a very good job at optimizing our node because the fees are so low. So it's like, maybe we could only spend $200, but you know, we have a small team, so why like really optimize the node? But like $1,000 to send payments for 3 years, over 6 million payments, like that's insane, you know? So what other tech is better than that? We have users in 233 countries and territories, like well over 1.5 million users. So if someone can tell me what technology will allow me to deliver real world value to those users that can like actually hold value when it leaves my ecosystem, I will use it. And I don't know what replacement anybody could offer me. Still have yet to hear it.
Wow, I have so many questions, but I want to backtrack a little bit because we're diving into this game, this operation, and I want to hear it from the very beginning. So, I assume, graduated college,
Yes.
and then where did you go from there? Was it right
I
into
went
this
to
game, or kind of walk me through that? What it
No,
was
I
like when you
finished
graduated?
college and then I went to undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
Or sorry, I finished college and then I went to grad school. And then I was a management consultant for many years. And did some like worked at a boutique firm after a while, and then I went and worked at Lightning Labs for like 3.5 years, I want to say. So as the VP of Business Operations at Lightning Labs. So that was 2018. And then I met.
Walk me
Sorry.
through that. What was that like? What was it like working at Lightning Labs?
It was I mean,
And what is
literally one
Lightning
of the
Labs? I guess we should say that from the beginning for anybody that doesn't
yes.
know.
So Lightning Labs actually really builds the LND protocol, which is just like one implementation of the Lightning Network. And Lightning Labs also builds like a lot of infrastructure and like liquidity tools for people to use the Lightning Network. So they have a product called Pool, as well as Loop, which kind of helps you go from the base layer to the Lightning Network, like the second layer, and then back into the base layer. So they have that, and then also recently have pushed out the Taproot Assets protocol, which actually makes stable coins on the Lightning Network possible. So hopefully, in the relatively near term, we have USD stable coins on the Lightning Network, which is just in my mind super cool. So yeah, they're doing like really cool stuff. One of the obviously main companies working on Lightning.
Whoa, so with those stable coins, are you having to convert, like the only way you can mint a stable coin on Lightning is with a Satoshi or a Bitcoin, or how the heck is that going to work? Is there going to be some type of liquidity pool?
Um, to be honest, I don't know exactly how it works, or
Okay,
how
all right.
I've read about it, but like not in super technical detail. But it is like really cool stuff. So I recommend anybody who's interested look into it. For me, it's like more about like the use cases or like the application. Like for us,
Yeah,
like building like some like wagering tech for like skills-based wagering, it's really interesting because then we can allow users to like spend US dollars.
yeah,
Um, and wager against someone who's doing, they could also be doing like another fiat stablecoin on Lightning,
yeah.
and really take advantage of the properties of the Lightning Network. So yeah, I mean, I think it's like really, really incredible. And just last week, they routed the first asset through the network. So it's like really becoming a reality fast. So that's my
Wow.
favorite thing that's like kind of happening in Bitcoin right now that like I think people should be watching out for, because I think it's like the activity you see with Tether and like USDT, like that's going to be coming into Bitcoin. Which I think is going to be like a whole new era for Bitcoin. So it's big. It's big. I wish more people were
Wow.
talking about it.
If you can get any of your contacts that used to work there that would like to come on the show for an interview and talk more about that, please pass them on to me, please.
Yeah, for sure.
Anytime you get anybody, if anybody from your other team or your team currently that would like to come on too, I'm willing to interview everybody. So,
Yeah.
where did you go? So after Lightning, where'd you head?
Oh, so then I came to Thndr. So I actually met my co-founder Jack during the pandemic in virtual reality, and we became friends. And so I was still at Thndr at the time, and I took some time, or sorry, I was still at Lightning Labs at the time when I met him. But I took some time off from Lightning Labs because my mom was sick. She's good now, but I took some time off to kind of get her through some health stuff, and then yeah, when I was like kind of looking to get back in the game, I had my co-founder's name is Jack Everett. We were obviously still good friends. He was building like really cool stuff where he was using like Bitcoin as a micro incentive reward in the game. So really just like rewarding people like a few Satoshis
Hmm.
for winning in the game. And it really, really impacted LTV. So like long-term retention increases by around 516%, just like giving a few Satoshis. Drives ad revenue by around 65%. So it's like very compelling. And yeah, so he was building a couple games he had built, and I was like, "What are you doing? Like, raise money, like, make this a real thing." And he was toying around with that, and he's like, "Okay, well, why don't you come and help me?" So then we joined him as co-founder, and we've kind of just been hitting the ground running ever since. We have 6 games in the App Store and Google Play. And then more recently, our users have been just like asking for wagering on the games, which I don't understand because like I don't like to wager on mobile games. Now I do. But it's like a huge, huge market,
Hmm.
skill-based wagering. And so there was no like real tools that we could use to allow for our users to wager with each other with the whole like same like speed, efficiency, and cost that we kind of have with our normal Bitcoin payments in the games. So we decided to build our own like wagering. API effectively. And we have like the skills-based wagering in our solitaire game, have some other things, maybe some new games in the works. But really the big thing was that when we built that, we had a lot of inbound from people just wanting to use the API. So, for a host of different things like auctions, escrow, lots of things. But the most kind of demand that we had was around like virtual casinos or iGaming, as well as sports betting. Because that, I mean, if you look into that space, you think payments are bad elsewhere. It's just atrocious.
Sports betting,
The entire like
the order
fiat
books.
experience. Well, mostly like buy-ins, withdrawals, fees. Like fees for an operator are around 2.5 to 10% or more in high-risk industries like sports betting. It's insane. And then just like peer-to-peer sports books have to do everything totally custodial. There's so much risk. If you look at stake.com, who do like crypto wagering, they have to custody all of those user funds. And like late last year, they lost like almost $40 million worth of customer funds. I mean, this is stake.com. Like Drake is their spokesperson. So they're huge. And so there's just a ton of friction when it comes to payments in iGaming and sports betting. So that's where we've kind of been seeing a ton of demand. So we have like our first sports books who are using our payments API and kind of really growing in the space. Like I was at a sports betting conference last week. So tons of demand there, which I think is really, really cool. Because like buying a coffee, there's not a ton of friction, right? Like just with regular US dollars. But if you think about it, when you win some money on a book, right? It might take 3 to 5 business days to get your winnings out. So you can't just immediately take that from one platform, like from DraftKings, and put it on FanDuel, right, to place another bet. So there's like no liquidity in your winnings. Also on the operator side, think about like so many people deposit money on platforms on Fridays, but the banks close and it takes 3 to 5 business days. But all the bets are usually placed on Saturday. So these books have to front the bets over the weekend and just hope that the money lands, right? So they have like an 8 to 10% margin of error that they usually just like have to like bake into their business model that they're going to lose every single weekend. So yeah, so there's just so like I mean, we've just found so many areas of friction when it comes to sports betting and virtual casinos. I mean, most of them are already using crypto, especially like offshore, where like really a lot of this operations are happening is offshore. Like there are already using like shitcoins, so we're just going to convert them.
I've interviewed quite a few people that are actually in the sports betting business, and they do this for a living. So it's you're exactly right. They all use Bitcoin, and he said that he claims that they like sports bettors are the original OG Bitcoiners. Like they were using Bitcoin to gamble before people even knew what Bitcoin was, like before it was even cool.
Exactly. It's like try bringing Bitcoin to like normal, like try bringing Bitcoin to like gaming, like normal gaming. They've been so burnt by like NFTs and Web3 and like even ICOs before that they're like, just no, just like please no. Like they're warming up, but like sports betting people are like, oh honey, we've been doing yes, please bring it. Like obviously
Yep.
there's like some friction, but yeah, they're way more receptive. So I think they're like the perfect audience to like really kind of start seeing like more mainstream adoption. So that's really what like our next focus and like goal is. So we have like some exciting announcements in the next couple of months. So
Do you see legacy games? Like I think I heard about like Grand Theft Auto, what is it, 6 now, is going to have like if you're like a warlord, you can stack Bitcoin in that game. Is that true? Do you see like a legacy finance going into this route, like where every game's going to accept Bitcoin, or do you think this is going to be an entire industry of like new games built around Bitcoin?
I think it will have to be new games built around. I mean, obviously, like if there was a new GTA, like they could just work it in. But like if you're gonna introduce, I think like buying in app purchases with Bitcoin, like that's an easy thing to do, right? But like actually adding Bitcoin to a game economy is like the game will have to be like designed around that. Like, and this is something that we've found, and like again, we have a bunch of game developers on our team who are now like experts at like building like lightning stuff, but they will be the first to tell you like Bitcoin does not work in every single game. The game has to really be thought out. Like, okay, because game economies are effectively real economies. Like, real
Mm-hmm.
economists study game economies to do things in real life. So, like, they're very delicate, like fragile ecosystems. So, games have to be designed very intentionally to like start adding real world value, because it also starts changing like a lot of like the incentives in the game, right? And like you don't want something to happen like Axie Infinity, where it's just like, okay, there's just people coming here to earn, they're not actually playing the game. Then it creates all these like outside markets, which for better or worse, like I mean, that can be handled better than, you know, some games have dealt with like gray markets. But yeah, I think it needs to be designed very intentionally. And I think like Bitcoin in itself makes that a bit easier because it's like a finite supply, whereas like things like, these Axie love potions or whatever they had was just like they just kept printing and printing and printing, and eventually we all know what happens. So Bitcoin takes care of a bit of that, but again, it's like, it has to be intentional and thought through. But I'm all for that, and I think it will happen eventually. I think it's just going to happen very, very slowly.
So does Thndr Games does every game have its own in-game token that is then converted to Bitcoin, or can you walk us through that?
So it's just Bitcoin. So the game mechanic that is through all of the games is we do have a raffle. So when you play the game, you pick up tickets, and we could just reward Bitcoin, but the raffle adds like this little like almost like gambling element to it. So every hour
Mhm.
you play, you earn tickets. The tickets enter you into a raffle, and then you win Bitcoin every hour. I'm pretty sure like you always win. Um, but yeah, there's like a raffle component, but we have no like we have like a duels system, and there's things where you have like you can buy like stars or cubes or like earn XP. So there are just like other in-app like soft currencies, but they don't like pretend, they're not like a token or a cryptocurrency or anything. They're just like something that you would already have in a game anyways. So, but the Bitcoin piece is like the main thing.
So how is this? So these are free games and people play them for free, but they earn Bitcoin. So is there some type of like ad revenue? How does that business model work for you guys that you guys can spend all this money to give away games for free?
Yeah, so we make money from ad revenue, in-app purchases, and subscriptions. And effectively, because these micro incentive rewards via Bitcoin drive long-term retention, which means that users are playing more, they're interacting with more ads, they're buying more things in the game, our LTV increases significantly. And so the amount of rewards that we give away is just like so small in comparison to how much we make from like the impact of giving
Mhm.
away these rewards, that we're just basically just like it's almost like a rev share with our users, where it's like, hey, you're here longer, like here's your rewards, right? So it's actually like a nice little, it works out very nicely. And then also like the wagering component is like, oh, I would say like a third slice of the pie, where we just take a rake on all of the wagers.
That's badass.
Yeah,
When did you
it's
guys?
actually really nice.
No, I like the sound of that. And what do you say? You said your LTV. What does that stand for?
Long-term value.
Long term value. Okay, just want to
Yeah,
make sure.
yeah. So it's like if our user was, at first worth like $1.30, right? Like our users are now worth like $3 or something, right? And like we give away maybe lifetime rewards we give away to that user is like 3,000 sats, right? So like the numbers make sense. Like we're making a lot more money and only giving away like fractions of a penny.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can earn more if you play in the tournaments and do all of that stuff. So some users do win a lot more, but like a lot win a lot less. So it works out.
And will there become a point that somebody could make a living playing your games?
No, we're like very, very passionate about like the games are fun, and we want people to play the games because they are fun, not because they're going to be making like, $500 a month. It's just really just like a cherry on the top. I think it's great if other people want to like, I don't know, structure their games that way. Again, these are like hyper casual and casual games. So like I
Mm-hmm.
really would feel bad if someone were playing 8 hours a day solitaire. Like competitive solitaire. That would be bad. But it doesn't I'm not against that, and I think it would work. It's just not the style of games that we have. If we had like a very like complex like strategy game or something,
Yeah.
if we were doing poker, I mean with the wagering stuff, like that kind of like
Is poker coming?
I mean, I'm not saying poker is not coming, but it's not currently in the works. Well, unfortunately, poker won't be happening for the US. There are like some loopholes. The US is really hard, but poker could be coming for other places. But like just even like competitive solitaire. I mean, there are people who will make decent money in our on that, because it's just like every time I go in, I get like house. Like they just steal my money. They're so good. And honestly, like the top, like the company that has like the most successful competitive solitaire, literally just from that solitaire game alone, they bring in $25 million a month. Yeah.
What?
Crazy.
I'm in the wrong industry. Every time I
So we're not making that yet, but like that's the goal, right?
So what does your husband think about all this?
He's just like, yeah.
Is he into crypto? Is he Bitcoin?
He is. So he actually runs a VC that focuses on cybersecurity, but he has made some Bitcoin investments, like into Bitcoin companies, not mine. Unfortunately, he's very anti-nepotism. So yeah, so he's not into it as much as I am. But he's like very, very supportive. He's not into like games, or he finds it like he's very vocal on the internet, but Bitcoin doesn't fall within that all the time. But he's very supportive. He loves Bitcoin. He buys it all the time. It's just that like he's more interested in like things like cybersecurity and national security and weird things like that. So
Sounds pretty interesting. I would love to hear more. I know we're going right up on that 1 hour time mark, and I want to be respectful of your time. So tell us a little bit about where everybody can find you. I know I got your Twitter, I got links to your Substack, I got links to Thndr Games down below in the description, but I want you to tell everybody where they can find you, and we'll kind of wrap it up.
yeah, definitely find me on Twitter. DM me at Dickerson_Des, and then Thndr.io has most of our stuff around the payments stuff that we're doing, and then Thndr.games have all of our games there. They're all available in the App Store and Google Play. Solitaire is very good, so even if you're not into Bitcoin or you're not into wagering or anything, you can just play it, and it is one of the best solitaire games I've literally ever played. So I highly recommend that one. The Tetra Tiles one is good. It's like more of like a puzzle blocks strategy game. But yeah, I guess just like try the games, and then I don't know, just watch our Twitter at Thndr Games, I think it is,
Mm-hmm.
because we will have a ton of really exciting announcements coming up in the next couple months. So follow there, because there will be like new ways in which you can use Bitcoin, and I think it's just like gonna blow some people's minds. So we're moving super, super fast. So check it out, and then also like get your parents playing these games, because like we need to make more Bitcoiners, and old people love games like solitaire. So it's like, get them playing solitaire, get them earning Bitcoin and stacking sats. It's a little, but it's the best way to introduce people to Bitcoin. Like 80% of our users, 85, oh, I can't remember, 80 or 85% of our users are totally new to Bitcoin. So it's a really, really wonderful way to introduce people to Bitcoin in a way that's like fun, safe, and feels really familiar because it's all done through the App Store and Google Play.
Well, God bless you, Desiree. I can't wait to see where you guys take this. And
Yeah.
anytime you want to come back on for an interview, I'd love to have you.
Yeah, maybe we'll pop on when we do like one of our next announcements or something. Would love to share with your audience. So
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be an honor to have you back. So thank you very much for
yeah,
stopping by, and look forward to having you
this
back
is
whenever you
so
can.
fun. Yeah, this is great. I love your Bitcoin background. So
Thank you very much. God bless.
awesome. Cool. Take
Bye,
care.
guys. Smash that like button for us on your way out the door. Thank you.
Run.